everybody. Today we'll be doing two Ryzen 5 2400G system builds. If you watched my previous video either one of my previous videos of doing the AMD Ryzen 3 2200G system platform upgrades, this is going to be mighty similar to it. The only difference here is instead of using a Ryzen 3 2200G, we're using the Ryzen 5 2400G APU along with a 500GB M.2 solid state drive instead of a 500GB hard disk drive. So we're going to start out by unboxing the motherboards. We're doing again two systems. It's the ASRock A320M-HDB motherboard. So I've done 5 systems already with this board, and every machine is working just fine. It's the same client. They're very pleased with the systems. These machines, however, are going to be used for a little bit more. Let's see. They're going to be used for a little bit different kind of work. The previous 5 machines I built were sitting in an office. They're doing office productivity and some graphical stuff because it is a sign and graphics business. These two machines will actually be running printers, big printers, which is why they need a little bit extra power. Oh yeah, also I forgot. In addition to the different APU and the solid state drive, we're also putting 16 gigs of RAM in these machines instead of 8. So there's the motherboard, just like the previous ones. If you've watched my previous videos, it's nothing too new. You get in the box the manual, which includes a driver CD, 2 SATA cables, iron shield plate, and an M.2 SSD mounting screw, which we'll be keeping that to the side because we'll be using it today. So we're going to start out with building up this system. The first one, we'll go ahead and start out by installing our RAM. Actually, no, we'll do the processor. Why not? Let's go and do the Ryzen 5 2400G, which should be very similar to the Ryzen 3 2200G. They're both 65 watt TDP processors. There is the processor and the case badge, and also the stock heatsink fan, which we'll be using. Go ahead and remove the plastic retention brackets. You know what's nice is how AMD's cooler mounts have not changed much all the way back since like socket 754, back in like 2004 or whenever that socket came out. I think it's 03 or 04. But they have changed with the Ryzen. They have changed some of the mounting specifications and whatnot. The holes are in a different spot. These are similar to the previous AMD APU sockets. So let's say if you have a socket AM3 water block or whatnot, or anything that mounts through the board, yeah, you kind of be out of luck there, unless your water block manufacturer would supply replacement mounts. Some do, some don't. So off these come. go mount our processor. And let's see if we got both. Yep, we got both the stickers this time. That's good. In case you didn't recall, on my in the first build earlier this year, one of the APUs was missing the Ryzen sticker. Go ahead and open up the socket here. And of course, be very careful with these processors because they have all these small pins on them. And the triangle is right there. Okay. It's funny, I have a whole drawer over here that's dedicated just for collecting these mounting brackets, and it's getting quite a few of them now. There's quite a few of them in there. We're going to mount our cooler. You know, I have to say the newer AMD cores are definitely a step forward versus what they've been using in the past. Now that's rather basic, but I do like the large fan and the overall design of the heatsink. It's good for basic use, which, yeah, for what it's getting installed on, it should be perfectly fine. You wouldn't be able, I don't think you'd be able to do much any overclocking with it though, but these machines ain't really going to be used for overclocking. They're just going to be used for workhorses. They need stability, of course. In case you didn't know, they already apply some thermal compound. We'll just use what they have. And I haven't had any problems with it, so what I'm going to do is line up the screws with the holes. And in a rotating fashion, we'll go ahead and start getting these threaded in. Plug in our fan. Fan is plugged in. Now go ahead and proceed with installing the RAM and the solid state drive. Yeah, I found these Corsair drives to be a pretty decent price. I forget exactly how much they were, but it was not too bad given the amount of storage they have. And I have experience with Crucial SSDs, and I have one in my laptop I've been running for several years, and it's been working just fine. So we have 16 gigabytes of G.Skill DDR4 memory. Okay, RAM's installed. Now for the solid state drive. This motherboard offers one M.2 slot, Ultra M.2 slot. I should also mention that the solid state drive also, they also ship a couple of screws for mounting. However, I think the one that came with the motherboard is of much better quality. So we'll be using that one. Make sure it's fully seated in there. Fully seated and lined up, you know. Okay, this motherboard is ready to install. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and prep the second one. I'm going to relocate this board to a different spot just for the time being. Okay, now we're going to repeat this process with the second board. I'll be honest with you guys, the tech room becomes a real mess. Becomes a real mess when I do computer builds and stuff like that, because all the boxes and shipping supplies, it's just crazy. Stuff gets every freaking where. And to make matters even better, I've got, let's see, 3 other systems from this client I'll be doing upgrades to here pretty soon. I got an HP system I gotta look at, something's going on with it. So yeah, I'm gonna be kind of busy. Second motherboard. You know, drills next to the circular saw. And there's the board. So just like last time, we're going to start out first with the processor, your APU, and then proceed on to the RAM and the solid state drive. Okay, this board is prepped and ready to go. So next thing we'll do is start prepping the system cases. Okay, we're going to start prepping the system. And these machines are being built to a certain budget, so they're not necessarily for show. They're going to be workhorses. So we're going to be reusing E-machine chassis to build these two. You got a case and a power supply. Power supply is not the original E-machine power supply. If you ever reuse an old E-machine system, and it has the Bestech ATX 25012E power supply installed, do not use that power supply. It is flawed by design and will fry your motherboard. This power supply is actually the HP OEM Bestech 250 watt unit. I've recapped some of the caps in it that were bad a while back, and I have used these countless times in cheap system builds. To be honest, using a unit like this is better than using a $14.99 special Gutless Wonder. So prepping this system is going to be very easy. It's just install the CD drive. These machines do not have physical hard drives. The client stepped up to SATA 3 M.2 SSDs. Not quite as blazing fast as NVMe, but a whole lot faster than a spindle drive, that's for sure. Get that slid into place. So one thing I can't stand about these E-machine systems, at least these from this era, is the faceplates that the original drives have. In my first system builds, I worked around it. I was able to mod a couple of E-machine faceplates that fit on the newer drives, but eventually I got tired of it. It was very time consuming and really the client wouldn't care, so I started dismounting the drives as is, and in some cases I've had to use, let's flip this around and show you. As you see, I mounted a different style faceplate on the front because I didn't have any more of the E-machine's faceplates. That's actually hot glued into place very well. Let's hope it doesn't pop out. You'll have to remove the camera just a tad bit to access this drawer. Just had to locate a fine threaded screw to mount the optical drive. We'll need two actually. What am I thinking? You're gonna need two of those things. Yeah, I got a whole drawer that's just slammed full of various types of screws. Comes in handy quite a bit. Use a regular screwdriver for that one. Okay, so this one is prepped and ready to go. I am going to leave the hard drive cage in place, so that way in the future, should the client decide they need more storage and they want to add in a hard drive, it won't be very difficult to do so, because they'll still have the hard drive cage. I always try to leave these things in whenever I can, because let me tell you, it sucks when you get a case like this and it's missing the hard drive cage. When I used to buy part systems from the computer work store, I would sometimes encounter systems like that, where they took the drive and the cage out and didn't put the cage back in. That's aggravating. Okay, so go ahead and do the second one just like I did the first. Go ahead and remove the IDE drive from this one. On this machine, you have to take the front bezel off, but hey, at least this machine case, you don't have to worry about custom faceplates because they take standard drives under the hood, which is rather nice. I wish the old ones were just the same way. Sorry if you're not seeing all this on video. Okay, this one's ready to go. So I guess I'm gonna start out with this one. And just like I mentioned with the previous one, leaving the hard drive cage in place. Go ahead and install the rear I/O shield plate. This is probably the most dreadful part of building a PC, because if you're not careful, you can easily cut yourself doing this. I've done it. People I know have done it. These things can be lethal. Sometimes it helps to, instead of using your fingers directly, take the back end of the screwdriver and walk it across the back of the thing. So that way, if the thing decides to pop through instead of pop into place, that's your screwdriver going there and not your finger. Okay, so I'm going to grab a board and install it. Before I can drop the board in, this particular case has a mounting post that cannot be moved. Some of them you can move them and others you can't. In this case, what I have to do is I have to snap it out. We'll probably need a bit more aggressive tool for this. If the famous those pliers can't get it, then I'm sure these big things will. Or may be able to. And out it comes. You just have to make sure there's no loose metal in there. Okay, now we're going to drop the board in. Finally. I'm going to bend up the little tab that the HDMI port goes into, because a lot of times those like to stick down inside the HDMI port instead of over the port. I'm going to just put all the screws in and hook all the cables up and it'll be there. Plug in our system fan header. Now there's one thing in particular about these boards I don't really like is in the BIOS you can't configure the motherboard to operate the fan as a 3-pin fan versus a 4-pin that offers pulse width modulation. So despite the motherboard sending a PWM signal to run the fan at low speed, the fan of course doesn't get that, so the fan runs at full speed, which is kind of annoying. Also, what I'll mention is these power supplies, the motherboard headers are 20-pin headers. Generally, if you're running a system, a high-end system with a graphics card and something like that installed on the board, you definitely would want to use the 24-pin, the full 24-pin. But in this case, the 20-pin will be okay. As mentioned, this is a pretty basic end system as far as power consumption goes. The APU has a TDP rating of 65 watts. And there's no, we do have the solid state drive on there, but we don't have any expansion cards. Stuff like that. And plug in our front panel connections. We have an HD audio over here, and USB, USB over here. Yeah, it's one of the downsides of using older cases like this is it's kind of difficult to put USB 3 ports up front, but we do have 4 available back here in addition to 2 USB 2 ports for like your keyboard and mouse. And if the client really wishes to do so, they could have a header installed in the back of the case to offer additional USB 3 ports. Yeah, just like the last Z Machine Z Cooper case I used. Actually, hang on a second, now that I think about it. Motherboard does offer a 3-pin header at the bottom. I'm going to try that out and see if it regulates the fan speed properly. Yeah, we'll see about that. Now, as I was saying, with the E Machine Z Cooper case, just like the last one, it was quite a stretch getting these power button and power LED cables over here. Yeah, this case is one of those special kinds that doesn't offer a hard disk activity LED. Go ahead and grab a SATA adapter cable for the power supply to plug up to the optical drive. Yeah, keep a bag of these handy. In the case where I'm installing a power supply that doesn't have these headers included. Yeah, some people may think I'm crazy for using older power supplies, but if you watch some of my videos from like 2012, 2013, that time period, you may know that I do service power supplies. I'll recap them and stuff like that. And I've seen far too many times where people will use cheap end power supplies in basic end systems like this. You know, power supplies that don't offer full or don't offer proper EMI and surge protection. have inadequate capacitors, among other things. These older Hyper units, they're built like a tank. I have found them to be very reliable. Matter of fact, I have one here I need to work on. This needs a replacement fan installed in it, but yeah, they're generally pretty reliable units. Go ahead and replace this missing expansion slot cover. It's where the modem used to be installed, I'm sure. Like, yeah, there for several years they were still including modems in these machines, in case you were one of the ones who had to use dial-up or send a fax. I sometimes send faxes, believe it or not. You know, there's cases where I have to do so. So the Mid-Tower Deluxe actually has a modem installed in it. A fax modem. And since this machine has barely any other drives in it, we're going to have to need lots of leftover cables to tie up. Yeah, cable management in a system like this is typically pretty easy because there's not too much stuff in here. But if you take, for example, a system like the Mid-Tower Deluxe that has 4 hard drives, 2 optical drives, lots of fans, and all sorts of other stuff, then you have a huge job in just tidying up the cables. I'm going to bunch these all up right over here. This ain't going to look the best, but it's going to do. Going to use this SATA cable here, since it has a 90° on the end of it, and it has locking, at least locking in on the side that faces the drive. See if it's long enough. It might not be long enough. Otherwise, I'll just use the ones that came with the motherboard. That's usually what I do, but I had this laying here. I was like, I mean, just a hair bit too short. Go figure. It would reach a hard drive, but it's not going to reach the optical drive. It might actually work in the other machine. I'll leave it for that. Because the optical drive in the other machine is a little bit lower. I'm going to use this 90-degree cable. Yeah, this cable even feels a little cheaper than the other one. But it'll work just fine. Okay, so this one is complete. Not too much in there, just motherboard, onboard SSD, optical drive, and yeah, that's practically it. So, we're going to move on to the second one. And then once we get it assembled, we'll test these two machines out. Just throw that on there for now. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one as I did with the other one. I'm going to have to snap out this one piece because it's not removable either. Yeah, it's crazy. Some of them you can unthread and move up to here, but some are like, you know, like this. You can't do it. This is unfortunate. Yeah, well, some of these they just rivet the things into place. Get all the metal shavings out of there. Okay, I gotta go ahead and snap out the old IO shield plate from the previous motherboard. Sometimes they just pop right out. Other times you have to fight them a little bit. That's a very rigid built IO shield plate. Of much better quality compared to what's going in there. But these cheapo ones tend to be easier to install. So it's kind of a win-win, I guess. Yeah, this one went right in. Not that much of a fight. A lot of it boils down to how the hole in the back of the case, how well it's machined. That makes a huge difference. If it's not machined very well, you're going to have one heck of a time getting that thing in there. Okay, so the rest of everything here looks ready to go. And just like with the last one, if I didn't mention already, yeah, we're leaving the hard disk drive cage in. Go ahead and grab your board. Last but not least, I'll go ahead and pop in the SATA cable. Yeah, this one offers just the right length. Okay, now this machine here is ready to go. Next we'll be testing these things out. We'll just do a simple plug in and boot up and see if they start up okay. Okay, when I have a machine sitting on the table getting ready to plug it in, but in case you guys need a reminder of just how messy this place can get when I'm doing stuff like this, it's a disaster area. I'm telling you, there's stuff everywhere. Yeah, I gotta get in here and go through all this stuff and get everything cleaned up. Those 3 machines back there are going to get upgraded to the Ryzen 3 2200G. Those just kind of got shelved to the back in favor of this current project. Yeah, so it's kind of a mess in here. But anyways, just going to move on to testing these things out. Okay, this machine is plugged in. Moment of truth, let's go ahead and try to start it. And with these particular boards, the first startup does take a little bit. And I should also mention, let's see, I think I forgot to do, oh there it goes. Yep, it takes a little bit. I couldn't remember if I had swapped my KVM switch over or not. It did post. So let's go try to get into the BIOS or the UEFI. Get the camera set up just a little bit better here. I should also mention that the chassis fan 2 header on the bottom of the board also runs the fan at full speed, so that's unfortunate. Normally the chassis fan would be running out at reduced speed. So, AMD Ryzen 5 2400G with Radeon Vega graphics, 16 gigs of RAM. Everything here looks good. Supply voltages look okay. And from my memory with these boards, I just leave everything at default settings. And it is seeing the M.2 solid state drive. I'm not sure if it's seeing the CD drive or not. I'll have to look into that. Secure boot is turned off. CSM is enabled. So let's go and try the second machine out and see if we detect the optical drive. That could be a bad SATA cable that's in there. That red one, it could be bad. So this one, so far it gets a pass. Just got to check that other one to see if it detects the CD drive. And of course there's no OS installed right now. swap this out for the other machine. And a moment of truth. Yeah, that particular case fan there throws a lot of air. I might change that for one that's a bit more conservative. And just like the last one, we should get a post. It just takes a moment. There we go. Barely gives you any time to get to the UEFI. Let's go straight to the, well, first, quick peek at hardware monitor. Yeah, see how this one's showing a tappy. Of course, that's the CD drive. So I suspect the cable in the other one might be bad. So yeah, we'll go back to that one. We'll swap the cable out and see what we get there. On this one, as I mentioned, I may swap out that case fan for a quieter one, because yeah, this board, unless you're running a 4-pin fan, it's not going to be able to control it. That's unfortunate. The Ace Rock board in the Mid-Tower Deluxe, you can set everything up to run. You have to vary the speed of a 3-pin fan or a 4-pin fan. Okay, so this one here seems to be good to go. The CD drive is detected on this one. So we're going to shut this one down. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna swap out this fan. I'll have to dig through my collection of fans. I might have one somewhere that has a 4-pin header on it. Who knows? So back to the other machine. Let's go ahead and swap out that SATA cable for a different one. We know the drive gets power because, as you may have seen or heard, I ejected the tray this time. So we'll just go ahead and pop in one of these brand new cables. So I'm going to swap out the SATA cable in this machine. I've already pulled the old one out. Yeah, this red cable might be bad. We know the drive's getting power because I was able to eject it earlier. Okay, let's go ahead and plug this machine back in and see what we get. You may see how much quicker the post was that time. A whole lot quicker. Let's go into the UEFI. And there we are. So it was a bad cable. I'll be tossing this in the trash. So anyways, other than replacing that fan if I have another one that's better suited for it, these two machines are ready to go. Just got to get Windows and software installed on them, and I'll be able to take them to the customer later this week. So that is building two budget Ryzen 5 2400G systems. As mentioned, these machines aren't really for show. They are going to be used in a sign graphics company to run these gigantic printers they have. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I may follow up with a startup to demonstrate the speed of the solid state drive on one of these. I figure I'll probably add that in as well at the end of the video. Anyways, that concludes building these things. Hope you guys enjoyed this part. Well guys, that's it for this one. But it doesn't have to be. There's plenty more videos on the channel to check out. Also, if you liked the video, please click the like button. And if you absolutely hated it, there is the alternative button as well. But yeah, please subscribe to the channel. I definitely appreciate it. And remember to click the bell so that we get notified of all updates. Also, if you're interested in things aside from computers and technology, check out my second channel. It's CubeComp MTDX. Over there you'll find videos about weather, elevators, bicycling, and pretty much whatever else I figure out to upload. So yeah, anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thank you for your support.